You know, if presidents go, people either hate Trump or like Trump. I don't like Trump. I never liked Trump as a person when he was in the business. He's a bombastic, pompous, self-centered, egotistical SOB who has dumb lucked his way through his career, more or less. You know, he acts and talks as if he's a self-made man, that he stood up and he clawed and drug his way up the ladder like most Americans do, which is far from the truth. You know his history. His father was a wealthy land developer and owner in New York, and he got started in the company. And granted, his father took the path that a lot of do, made him work his way up the ladder, so to speak, in different entry-level positions and stuff when he was first starting out. But at the end of the day, he knew he wasn't going to be a ditch digger for his entire life, that he didn't have to get the leg up that everybody else does, that makes the solid claim of having built being a self-made man or a self-made millionaire. As president, I don't want to get into the obvious issues here. It's pretty well out there for anybody to see. You know, some people are geared to be a president, some aren't. Some are geared for politics, some aren't. That's one of the beautiful things of our country, is the right and the freedom to reach beyond your position and station in life, and whether you're successful or not at it, whether or not you can BS your way through it, that's yet for the history books to say. What I don't care about is, in this particular rant, is this political agenda that's always crops up. And I don't care who's in charge. I don't care who's president, who's in charge of the Senate or the Congress. You know, it's two sides of the same effing coin, and it always seems to turn out to be, what can we do to screw the other guy, instead of working as the the voters, their constituents ask them to do, to get things done, achieve some good common ground stuff for the country as a whole. And the last 20 years has gotten really, really bad about it. If nothing else, it serves as a lot of material for the comics and our foreign nations to sit back and stare at us and scratch their heads or laugh and think, these people are going to self-destruct. And you know what Rome did, the Byzantine Empire did. No offense to the Limeys, but you know, the Brits did. They're not the world-spanning empire they once were. You know, the Chinese have been up and down that hill many times in their multiple millennia of existence. Don't let them BS you into thinking they got some communist answer to everything, because they're no more communist than my shoes are. You know, they have some version thereof that they've twisted and turned and as always in their history, made it out to be something that it's not. So, you know, it's this back to the Trump thing. I hear a lot, and you hear a lot. It's all over the place about these social justice warriors. But you know what? We have another issue, another movement or agenda that's been going on for some time now. Let's call it Political Justice Warriors, right? The PJWs of the world. And this is where whatever goes against their particular dogma or belief or what have you, they jump on the other side of it. And to the point of being ridiculously extreme. We've seen a lot of that when the Republican Tea Party thing broke out, the short-lived secondary party of the Republicans. And what did happen? You get a lot of radicals and nut jobs and extremists who were just livid that they could not control the country as they thought it should be controlled, and they forgot the fact that that's not how this thing works. That you can't have everything your way all the time, and if you're going to throw a tantrum, we're either going to ignore you at some point, we're going to spank you, take you over our knee and whoop your butt, or we're going to throw you out in the cold, because that's typical of American politics and the American people itself. You know, that's God's truth. You know, at some point we get tired of listening to you cry. You know, this is what we're doing now. We listen to Trump, who makes an ass out of himself on a regular damn basis. You know, welcome to the modern era. He's probably, everybody talked about Obama being, the most tech-savvy president in history, but I have to say that, I don't want to call him tech-savvy, but he's the most technologically connected president since ever. And that's the wave of the future. The fact is that the man tweets out his thoughts and his comments sometimes without thinking, on the spur of the moment, as it happens. That's one of the reasons so many people follow his Twitter posts, I imagine. And I don't follow any Twitter posts. I don't even have the Twitter thing. I do the Facebook thing, and for right now that's enough because I don't need the 40,000 different things flooding my damn emails. My phone wouldn't stop bleeping all damn day if I were to do that, and I don't want to hear it. Meanwhile, I want to go to it and find it when I want to see it. I just don't want to hear it. Being run down my nose. That's that. Reminds me of that commercial for a local commercial here in the Midwest for a convenience store chain called Quick Trip, where some young lady tweets all of her friends to stop and download the Quick Trip app, and everybody's doing stupid shit, because they're so obsessed with these bleeps that they have to react, and whatever they do, they stop, even if it's going to cost a lot of money or hurt people. I'm just saying. So this political justice warrior mindset that we've had for the last 20 years is nothing new. It's like the social justice warrior movement crap. Everybody acts like it's some big new thing, but it's not. If you go back and look at your history, it's there numerous ways, numerous times. You got to get a chuckle out of it. I mean, if you're a student of your history, and you think I'm bullshitting you, you think I'm full of shit. Okay. Here's one for you. Everybody rants at these young fellows, especially these young African Americans, run around with their pants hanging down by their ass. Well, guess what? That's not new. And to you young African American fellows who think that's some sort of big thing, I hate to tell you this, but you go back about the turn of the century, back in the 1920s or so, about the Zoot Suiter age, and before that, that was actually fad several times in the American history, and not anything new. You didn't cut anything new. It's just like everybody talked about how when rap came out, how it was this great new, truly American musical whatever. It's not new, friends. I'm sorry, it's not new. History is full of it. You go back and look at, the 16 months have been chanting, i.e. rapping, for millennia, hundreds of years. You go through history, you see examples of it over and over and over again. Nothing new. The lyrics are new, okay. The beat might be new, but the concept is not new. It's not unique. It's not original. How do you think of that? What do you think of me now? I don't care what you think. You never care about what I think. Nobody else gives a damn what I think. Why should you care? Why do I care about what you think? Well, that's also part of the great thing about our country. So, we'll go back to President Trump. Why do we give a shit what this guy thinks? Why does everybody get so butthurt because he makes a couple of derogatory comments? He's speaking his mind. He's saying what the Joe Q public out there is thinking and saying, for that matter. Anyway, this is where it easily gets twisted into things. This is where our political justice warriors jump on the bandwagon and start twisting it around, turning it to suit their agenda or their needs, and make it into some bad thing. When the truth is, it is the truth, and nothing but the truth, and people hate the truth. We want the truth. We talk about the truth. We talk about freedom of speech in this country. In reality, they don't want that. They want the freedom to say what they want and for you to hear what they have to say, but they don't want you to say what you got to say. You see that in the extreme feminist movement that's going on right now. They got their axe to grind, and they want to grind it loudly. If you try to butt in, they want to hit you with it. Because how dare you? That's the whole problem. You dare. You dare. Well, guess what? I dare too. Effing yourself. This is the way of the world. It's the way it's been. It's going to be this way 100 years after we're dead. It is what it is. So, is it right? What's he saying? I don't know. I've listened to my father, who was an extreme conservative, was a Marine for many, many years, and worked his life at Firestone after that, making tires and providing for the family as best he could. And he believed that just about every new finagled thing that come out was something to do with the communists. He was convinced that the internet was a communist plot, either by our government to bring the commies down or by the commies to mess with us. And you know what? I'm not so sure there wasn't some truth there. I'm just saying, look at how things developed and what was the purposes. Freedom of speech. Now everybody in the world can pretty much say what they want, no matter what regime's in charge of things. Even in North Korea, they have to be, they have issues with the internet access and stuff. So maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe it's just a political rant that my father had. Who's to say? He also believed that a lot of the football teams in professional football league was communist controlled too. But hey, that's another rant. The So we talk about what's he say? What are these letting all these immigrants come from these shithole countries and immigrate here? Why not let them immigrate from Norway? Well, Mr. Trump, those who are coming from Norway want to come here, and they do immigrate. So we do get Norwegians immigrating here. Maybe not great numbers, but they do come, and it is what it is. That's why the shitholes of the world. Well, they're shitholes. Nobody wants to live in a shithole. If they can get out of there, come here legally and work hard and become nationalized citizens and do the right thing, then God bless them. That's what built this country. We tend to forget that sometimes. Now, I'm not advocating an open door. That's the problem. Because then everybody and their dog comes. And most of them who come are good people, but there's always the ones who have their own agendas, and they're not necessarily good agendas. But then there's the riffraff that show up too. But then I have to go back to the other side of the coin, the shitholes of the world. And I'm sorry that they seem to mostly be in Africa and certain parts of Central America, but guess what? Part of the reason they're shitholes is because their people let their people do that to them. Their countries are run by very conniving, shisty, dishonest people, and the fact that their population tolerates it, or is in a wink and a nod, or just are so browbeaten into trying to subsistence living that they have no, energy to go after the people that's causing them to live that way. I feel for them. Maybe there's our agenda, and it has been for the last 80 years, 50 years, is to try to stir up that sort of stuff when we can, to make changes on many, many, many levels, and not just in the politics of things. But I listened to my father and my grandfather and myself because you grow up in their shoes, you grow up in your parents' shadow and footsteps. Some of that rubs off. And I thought, well, these people are starving over in Ethiopia. Okay, here's a thought. A, don't live in an effing desert. If you're living in a desert or a heavily drought area and you got a problem, well, either adapt to it and overcome it or move. Right? Okay, and that's exactly what they do. We tend to forget that. They move. This is why we end up with these huge refugee camps on the borders of other countries who are struggling themselves and don't want 1 million or 2 million people moving in, because they can't barely take care of the problems they got. And then everybody looks at the bigger countries and the wealthier countries and says, hey, why don't you come do something about it? Well, we do stuff. We send money, we send help, NATO gets involved, we send all kinds of, advisors, and we make efforts to improve their life as best we can. But are we to be at fault because we don't turn, our countries into one giant refugee camp? And I don't see China doing that. I don't see the Russians doing that. The Europeans or countries are doing it in various stages, and look what's happened to them. We do that here, it's a problem. Doesn't matter anyway, because they're going to show up. Unfortunately for us, and unfortunately for them, a lot of them have a big ocean between us and them. Makes it much harder for them to do it. But you know what? If they were determined. You think I'm wrong? History. Go back 25 years. What was it? The boat people. A lot of people escaping Central Asia jumped on boats and headed out and ended up where they ended up. Some of them ended up here. Then there was the exodus from Cuba. How many people risked their life and limb and their families' lives for a better place by cobbling together a raft or patching together a boat, setting out for that however many mile-long sail it is between here and southern Florida, in hopes that somebody didn't run them over or shoot them down or drag them back or send them back when they got here. They're desperate. Desperate people will do desperate things. And those of us who don't want them to do those things should make an effort to help them be less desperate in their own homes. Unfortunately, how far do you go? How far can you go? Look at the situation we got in Vietnam, in Northern Korea. And we've let things in Northern Korea get to a point that they are now, that to go in there and do something serious now is a final solution, and it's going to be ugly for a lot of people, including us. We let these fanatics get the bomb, and now that they have the bomb, we allow them to get the ability to deliver that bomb, however crudely, to us without ever leaving their country to do it. And that's our fault. Our politicians' fault, and our think tank people's fault, and our allies' fault, and the Chinese' fault. The Chinese are deluding themselves. I always said that. The Chinese have always viewed North Korea as this pit bull that they've got on a short leash in their backyard, and every now and then when nobody's looking, they wave a stick at it or they throw a rock at it, get it barking and snarling, mostly because it snarls at us. And they get a kick out of it, or they get a political whatever out of it. And they know that it allows us to focus on something other than what they're doing. Meanwhile, now they got a rabid dog with an atomic bite. Do you think that this thing's not going to go off in their backyard at some point? And we see that over and over and over again. Come on, you mistreat the damn dog, the dog's going to turn on you. The dog will bite you, even if it's going to end up getting itself killed in the process. So, meanwhile, if the two Koreas go at each other and drag us in with it, or we go at it and drag everybody else in with it, Chinese going to get dragged into it too. They're going to suffer too. Who are they going to point fingers at? Everybody be pointing fingers at the other guy, when in reality we all dropped the ball here. We should have solved this problem back in the 50s when it started. We left it unfinished, And there you go. That's part of that rant too. Something to think of. So, is President Trump a nut job? Damn straight he's a nut job. But he's got American given right to be the nut job he is. Y'all elected him. This is what you get when you elect people that are doing it for social reasons and egotistical reasons, and not because they really have a good idea, an agenda. Some of what his plans supposedly were good plans, but how much of it was originally his stuff? He's a wink and a nod guy. He listens to other people, and like a lot of these really wealthy, people who built their empires on the back of the ideas of the flunkies who work under him. So when the flunkies don't always sing to the tune that he wants them to sing, he kicks them to the curb. Now he's got all kinds of problems. Is he going to get reelected? Probably. Yeah, probably. So let him tweet. Let him say what he's got to say. I wouldn't want him telling me I can't say what I want to say. There you go. God bless you.